Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Hello, thank you for tuning in to Kaieteur Radio. I am Kevin Smith and welcome to your news at noon. These are the top stories we are tracking. International expert says effective oversight of oil companies is where Guyana's focus needs to be. ExxonMobil suspended from International Climate Council it helped form, and DPP recommends inquest into death of husband killed with his own knife. Meanwhile, 2 more Londoners charged separately for rape and exposing genitals. Health Minister says Caribbean countries will recognize travelers vaccinated with Sputnik. And man previously jailed for stabbing and assaulting daughters remanded for shooting their friend. Meanwhile, proof of vaccination and ID required for taxpayers visiting GRA offices, and elderly woman succumbs to COVID-19, 14 patients in the ICU. Stay tuned to stay informed.
I'm in a rush. Digicel got me in a rush. Driving style for the summer. Digicel summer rush.
Nobody's doing it big like Digicel this summer. Top up with $1,000 or more and collect the letters to spell the word RUSH for a chance to win one of 3 brand new Toyota Rush SUVs. Yes, you heard it right. 3 brand new Toyota Rush SUVs.
Driving style for the summer. Hey, Digicel summer rush.
Start topping up now.
And now for the news in detail. As Guyana continues its preparations for the oil sector, Chatham House Associate Fellow Dr. Valerie Marcel is of the firm view that focus should be on the oversight of oil companies. Dr. Marcel said that Guyana needs to outline the rules by which the operators are to work. She said these have to be laid out along with having pellucid policies to guide the sector's development. Dr. Marcel said that in light of the size of discoveries, there is certainly a justification for establishing a regulatory agency for the petroleum sector. This was supposed to be in the form of a petroleum commission, but the legislation to bring it into being remains stuck in the Parliamentary Select Committee. She went on to say that it is important that Guyana begins to build the regulatory capacity needed for the oversight of costs as well as capacity within the EPA. And moving on, ExxonMobil Corp has been suspended from the Climate Leadership Council following a secretly recorded video that showed one of the company's lobbyists detailing its strategies to delay climate action. Exxon was among the first corporate backers of the centrist group, known for its advocacy on a carbon-free and dividend proposal, but the sting tape released in June cast significant doubt on the company's support for carbon pricing. The suspension stems directly from the secret recording of Keith McCoy, a senior director for federal relations at Exxon. McCoy told a group of Greenpeace activists posing as headhunters that the company only supports carbon pricing because Congress lacks the political will to pass it. A tape raised suspicions that Exxon had been supporting groups like the Climate Leadership Council to greenwash its public image while it continues to produce more fossil fuels. And moving on, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Shalimar Ali-Haq, has recommended an inquest into the death of father of 3, Anthony Packham-Ram, of Providence, East Bank, Demerara. On July 25th last at Old Road, Providence, Packham-Ram was killed with the very knife which he had armed himself with while he and his reputed wife were arguing. According to a police report, the deceased had a history of being violent towards his reputed wife, with whom he had an 11-year relationship. On the day in question, around 15 hours 30, the man had returned to the woman's residence where another altercation happened, which ended in his death. News had surfaced that the woman had stabbed Packham-Ram once to the neck during the altercation, but in an exclusive interview with Kaieteur, the woman had claimed that she believes that it could be a case that her abusive partner had fallen on his own knife after he had allegedly wrestled her to the floor. And more troubling news, 1 week after a Linden man was remanded to prison for allegedly raping a minor and another was placed on $200,000 bail for allegedly exposing his genitals, 2 more Lindeners appeared in court for similar charges. Both men appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan in the Georgetown Magistrates Courts via Zoom. 20-year-old Kieran Vandrigen was charged for sexual activity with a child under the age of 16, which allegedly occurred on April 28. He was placed on $150,000 bail and is expected to make his next court appearance on August 18th. The second defendant, 49-year-old Edward Reddock, was slapped with 2 counts of exposing his genitals, which occurred on June 18th, and was also charged for 2 counts of assault. Reddock pleaded not guilty to the two assault charges, and was fined $15,000 each. However, he denied exposing his genitals, and he was remanded to prison until August 18th. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. We will return after the break. Welcome back. Let's continue with the news. Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, says persons inoculated with the Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine can now travel to most Caribbean countries. Following discussions on the matter, all Caribbean countries except for Trinidad and Tobago said persons traveling to their shores can enter once they have been fully immunized with a COVID-19 vaccine. Dr. Anthony made this disclosure during Friday's COVID-19 update. The World Health Organization has approved several vaccines to fight COVID-19, including AstraZeneca, Sinopharm, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer. And in other news, 55-year-old Peter Thompson, who was jailed for stabbing and assaulting his daughters in 2018, was yesterday hauled before a city magistrate for allegedly shooting one of his daughter's friends. Thompson appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan in the Georgetown Magistrates Courts. He was not required to plead to the indictable charge, which alleges that on July 29th at Durban Street Lodge, he discharged a loaded firearm at Sherry Ann Wills, causing her to receive grievous bodily harm. The court heard that Thompson and Wills are known to each other through Wills being a friend of Andrea Howard, Thompson's daughter. The defendant and his daughter are presently before a High Court judge for the division of a property at Durban Street Lodge, which is occupied by Howard. Thompson is restrained from going to the property. And back to COVID-19 news. In keeping with COVID-19 emergency measures published in the official Gazette on July 29th of this year, GRA has advised that all taxpayers desirous of entering its offices must show proof of vaccination, hard copy vaccination card, and a valid form of identification, whether it be ID card, passport, or driver's license, with effect from Monday, August 9th, 2021. No electric or photocopies will be accepted. The Revenue Authority said it will only facilitate entry to unvaccinated taxpayers on a prior appointment made via the switchboard operator on telephone numbers 227-6060 or 227-8222, extension 1502, 1506, and 1507, or through its online mailboxes. And now for your COVID-19 update. The Ministry of Health yesterday reported that a 95-year-old woman from Region 4 who tested positive for COVID-19 has died. As a result of this, the country's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 554. The Health Ministry reported that within the last 24 hours, they recorded 54 new COVID-19 cases, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 22,843. 95 persons are in institutional isolation, 14 patients are in the COVID-19 ICU, 668 persons are in home isolation, and 5 in institutional quarantine. To date, a total of 21,512 persons have recovered from the virus. Just before we come to the end of today's news at noon, let's head over to the page 7 of the Kaieteur News, dedicated to being blunt. Despite advice to the contrary, the government continues to engage in a fool's mission with the $900 million gas-to-energy project. The world is moving to renewables, which is cleaner and cheaper. Yet we continue to be stuck on fossil fuels. Why are we being forced into a direction that is opposite to the advice of international experts and agencies? Why are these environmentally and financially costly and burdensome projects being forced down our throats? Who really stands to benefit by placing these fiscal shackles on the ankle of current and future generations? Guyanese, it is time to wake up and demand that your tax dollars be used for the betterment of your future. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. Kevin Smith here. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Stream to